Talk About Rock, episode special, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2024, with today's guest, Josh Crum from the Diary of a Madmen podcast. Hello, welcome to this special episode of Talking About Rock, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2024 inductees. I'm Rob Edwards. Like what you hear from us? Subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media and our website, talkingaboutrock.com. We appreciate all your support. Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions for 2024 set to take place Saturday, October 19th at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. And here to chat with us about the second induction of the metal legend Ozzy Osbourne from the Diary of the Madman podcast, my friend, the Ozzy guru, Mr. Josh Crum. Josh, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you been doing, Rob?
Oh, man, excellent, man. So when I say you guys are the Ozzy gurus, you guys live and breathe Ozzy, man. And you were invited to the Patient Number 9 listening party at Sirius Radio.
Yeah, that was a magical moment for sure. You know, we kind of got that invite, and it's one of those. And I live in Kentucky, and of course, it was in Hollywood, and had 2 days to fly out there, but had to make it happen. You know,
very, very cool. And before we get into all the Hall of Fame stuff, that's what we're here to talk about. But just some craziness this past week, Tuesday, the rock world was shook in Las Vegas with the shooting of, former Ozzy guitarist Jake Lee. 3 shots hit him while he's out walking his dog. I guess he got hit in the back, the foot, and the forearm. Police report said that it doesn't appear he was targeted. Nothing like that. And he's doing okay. And it looks like he was texting with his guitar buddy, DJ Ashba, saying, I'm one lucky motherfucker, man. Just crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, lucky indeed. I mean, shot 3 times and miss all your vital organs. And I mean, just think about that. And once in the foot. How random is that? A shot in the foot, one in the arm and one in the chest that actually hit a lung a little bit. So, and a rib. So lucky guy, man, for sure. It's a blessing to say the least.
Crazy. They said they found like 15 shell casings there. So it could have been so much worse. But when we heard that, we're just all like, oh my God, are we going to lose another, awesome rock guitarist? We've lost so many people in the rock world, And
especially with that kind of tragedy, you know what I mean? Like something so random as that, a random drive-by shooting. And, another weird thing I thought about, like my mind works kind of oddly sometimes. Imagine if you're the shooter. You randomly do this drive-by, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, that guy was famous. Shit.
You better head for the hills and start living out of the sewers they said they don't say they have any suspects yet, but I'm sure they're going to be combing all that, very closely,
Hope so, yeah. And, I brag about it. I kind of joke on the show, but I've played with Jake Lee before and met him and got a photo and got to talk to him about music and such. And he was just such a down-to-earth, humble guy when we played with him. And he came actually near where I live. And I called the promoter and I said, you don't know me, but my name is Josh Crum. I'm with a band called Downtrend. He said, I've heard of you. I said, we're going to be opening up the show for Jake Lee's Red Dragon Cartel when they come to town. He was like, let's work it out. He was already ready for us. So it kind of worked out perfect. And for me, I've played bigger shows in front of more people. Honestly, it sold out at around 200 people that night. We played in front of thousands. But for me, getting on the same stage as Jake Lee that night was the pinnacle for me. I was in heaven and still am over. It's been 11 years now, but
definitely. So many guitarists, quote Bark at the Moon song is one of the most difficult songs to play, period. It's just amazing
to play it the way Jake played it. I mean, even Zakk Wylde doesn't play it the way Jake played it. He has such an interesting take. Jake plays everything unorthodox. He has a very unorthodox style, and so does George Lynch. George is kind of like that. And Jake's stuff was really hard to play. I was watching him the other night on Tone Talk, and he said, I'm not the songwriter Randy Rhoads was. He said, I'll admit that. He said, but I think my shit's harder to play. And as a guitar player, I agree with him.
Yeah, all the guitarists I talk to, they're just like, yeah, that one's a freaking real, wrist killer playing that stuff. And Jake's kind of been like a recluse for the last couple of years. He's kind of stepped back from Red Dragon Cartel. You really haven't heard anything from him. I think he kind of likes his privacy.
I think he does, man. I don't think being a mega really rock star is always what Jake's all about. in the slightest. I really don't. So I think it's just something he does as a hobby from time to time, but we need him back out there, man. The world needs Jakey Lee, period.
Definitely, for sure. And we wish him, a speedy recovery from everyone here at Talking About Rock. We hope he's doing all right. He messaged out some stuff today on social media. Looks like he's going to be doing all right, but yeah, just crazy, man.
Yeah, and what a gorgeous dog he had, Coco.
Right. People are asking to make sure Coco's okay, so he said Coco was all right.
yeah. And and also I got my guy Ozzy. People can shit on the Ozzy Jake relationship all they want, and I thought Ozzy had a very heartfelt message to Jake, also, wishing him well, and thoughts and prayers for Jade also, which is Jake's daughter. Jade and Kelly were extremely close growing up, so there's still family ties there. That even though people may not be in each other's lives anymore, there's always the history that's just impossible to overlook.
Definitely. So, man, Josh, you're not only a guitarist, you started doing some radio, I see, and obviously, your podcast, Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Ozzy podcast with yourself and Don Drago. You recently had Jack Osbourne as a guest from the Osbournes, and they discussed that on on their podcast.
Yeah, you talk about shitting a brick. Just to be honest, when Jack was on, like, he hung out after the show and just chatted with us for a while, and I'll just say he's wanting to bring Ozzy on. He's like, I want Dad to come on the show, and we were like, well, who better than you to make that happen? Like, let's work that out, and that's something we're still discussing all these, a year later. But we woke up that morning, and I had messages all over my phone, and Dan had messaged, and Ryan had messaged, and it was like, hey, the Osbournes have talked about the Diary of the Madmen podcast on their podcast. And I'm like, shit, no way. So I go straight to their podcast, and I'm trying to find it and pull it up. And that was a awesome thing to hear. They gave us like 2.5 minutes of just chatting about us, and Jack was telling them all about who we are and what we do. And Ozzy's so humble. People say what they want about Ozzy. He's a humble man. I don't care what anyone says. And he's just like, why would anyone want to do a podcast about me? It's like the guy has no clue how much he's touched people's lives and stuff. So that was definitely a very surreal thing to see when they talked about us.
Yeah, definitely very cool. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll take a listen to the Osbournes discussing the Diary of the Madman podcast here real quick. We'll play some of that, and we're back here. Josh Crum on Talk About Rock.
What was I going to say? Oh, I did this podcast the other day. These two really funny guys. They're they do an Aussie podcast.
Get out of here.
They do, yeah, these two guys.
Yeah.
The podcast is called Diary of a Madman.
Yeah.
And they're basically like two of the biggest Aussie nerds I've ever met. They know literally everything about everything, with every rumor and every, like, they're like Aussie scholars. And it was actually a lot of fun. They were like really like getting into
Are they funny?
Yeah, they're really, but they're like incredibly passionate about everything you've ever done. And so they were like really getting into the weeds about like, oh, do you know anything about this and that? And like, of course they brought up the Randy tapes, and they were asking about the Steve Vai album and the Mark Hudson and the Rasputin and like all the stuff that people have heard about, but no one's ever heard. And so it was really, it was kind of interesting to,
God, they've gone that deep.
Oh, there's deep. And then these guys were like way deep. And they were like, they have like 1,000 to 1,500 weekly listeners. And they started doing it because they met on a message board where people were just like talking back and forth about you and your career. And then they started a podcast.
That's fun.
That's pretty cool, don't you think?
It is.
Where did you get that from?
So that podcast I did with those guys,
they played it. Yeah.
Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast. Available now wherever you stream your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure you tune in where we talk about all things Ozzy and all things Ozzy related. We are the ultimate Ozzy historians.
Okay, man. So very cool. So folks out there, if you're a big Ozzy fan, Diary of the Madman, the ultimate Ozzy podcast, Ozzy Osbourne's podcast talking about these guys. So just some cool stuff, man.
We're Osbourne certified at this point, right? And they give us permission to use the clip. Like I had reached out, and they were like, yes, use the clip all you want. It's yours. Feel free to do what you want.
Very cool. So Ozzy Osbourne management, I talked to Josh. He said it was okay when we played that. So don't sick the hordes on us. Okay.
Send the bill to me if there's any issues there. But no, we were given permission. They were like, absolutely, use the clip all you want. All the promotion for us, the better also. So yeah, it's such a great
moment. That's so cool. Okay, so very cool. All right, so let's move on to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's what we're here to talk about. The induction ceremony this weekend, and you're gonna be there. You're gonna be at the ceremony. So you were gonna be. I think you're heading out tomorrow or something.
Heading out tomorrow, man. You're up on me. Yeah. So really, the plan was hopefully for all three of us at the Day of the Madmen podcast. You have Dan and I host the show, but our buddy Ryan's always involved. He does all of our artwork. He's on the show often. The hope was for all three of us to go, but unfortunately, Dan has work. He was in Denver, going into Denver, and he can't be there. So Ryan and I are going to go. And man, what is already a remarkably exciting event, Rob, has gotten more exciting today. Did you hear the big news?
There's been a couple different big things. There's been stuff. I was going to go through the different artists here in a minute. And we can talk about it a little bit. So let's go through the list, and then I think we'll get to what you're talking about in a second. So I just want to go through the performers a little bit, and we'll kind of get to the meat of it here. So obviously, want to start out with some of the classic stuff here. Cher is going to be inducted finally. Obviously, owed to her for years. Gypsy, Tramps and Thieves, Heart of Stone. Way past her time to be in there, right? Definitely. And the next guy, of course, also Peter Frampton. Way past time for him to be there. Legendary guitar player. Frampton comes alive, changed the game for live music.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's a definite theme in this year's class of should have been there a long time ago. No question.
Yeah, I mean, like there was no really essential live albums until he put that out. And that kind of put him on the map because he really wasn't making a lot of noise at that point. Yeah. And then I think everybody else, even like Kiss, looked up and said, well, we need a live album. You got to do a live album, So that was
and we always
awesome.
Think about Wayne's World. Frampton Comes Alive. Everyone has Frampton Comes Alive.
Everybody had Frampton Comes Alive.
It was always,
Definitely very much. Yeah, very, very cool. Some other folks here on the list, Kool and the Gang, probably way past their time to be on here, obviously, as well. Legendary performers. Another one, Dionne Warwick. She's going to be inducted for musical excellence. Obviously, another person way past her time. It looks like they're finally starting to see some of these people that it's owed to. Maybe they're going to catch up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what else we got here? We got Mary J. Blige. She's a performer inductee. Dave Matthews Band. A lot of folks are big fans of theirs. I wasn't a big follower of theirs really at all, but they're going to be in, And then, obviously, gone back and forth a little bit today on social media. Foreigner. Way overdue. These guys, right? It's like, right. I think everybody already thought they were in. I think that's what's going on, right?
Well, I guess there was beef with the Rock Hall committee, though, right?
Yeah. I heard some of that too, and I think Lou Gramm spoke to that a little bit online. And then today there was that back and forth. So Dennis Elliott, the drummer, puts a message on social media: "We're not going to be there," and everybody's like, "Foreigner's not going to be there? What?" And then 5 minutes later, Foreigner releases their statement. Lou Graham's going to be there. He will attend. Al Greenwood and Rick Wills will be there to accept the award. But they're going to have some folks performing with them. It looks like Sammy Hagar, Demi Lovato, Kelly Clarkson will all be joining the band. Obviously, not there. Mick Jones will not be attending. And it's like I mentioned before, Dennis Elliott. Obviously, there was some issues, and he will not be attending. So I was like, what's going on? Are they going to be there? Are they not? I mean, they seem to all be. They were fighting for this. It seemed for Foreigner, right?
Yeah. And I think we all thought it was that moment to have Lou Gramm back with the group on stage. That's kind of what we all hoped for, and it doesn't look to be so.
Yeah, just some crazy stuff. And obviously, I'm in the Western New York area, so we're super excited because Lou Gramm's from Rochester, New York, right? So we're super excited to have him finally, what we feel, get his due,
100%. I mean, Foreigner is one of the greatest rock bands of all time. They're a top 10 to me rock band of all time. It just blows my mind. And like I said, aside from Beef, there's no excuse for Foreigner not being there.
Right. Like every song of theirs you can name has been on the radio a million billion times.
Yeah. Yeah. Like most bands have that one hit. Foreigner has like 12 of those.
Yeah. I know. That's why it blew my mind. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you really have to think about putting these guys in? They really have to fight to get what?
And to be fair, I think Kool and the Gang is like that too. They've got a million damn good songs. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, there's tons of music. So maybe they're catching up a little bit, but then some of the stuff I don't really understand. Maybe you can explain it to me. A Tribe Called Quest. Don't understand that one really. I had, had another pod show guest on here. I had Ron Jones on the show from the Rip It With Ron podcast, and we were like, we're not familiar with the Tribe Called Quest. Who are these folks?
Yeah, I know. But yet they go in the same year Ozzy Osbourne does. I mean, in Foreigner.
Yeah, right. So really weird. So so let's get to it. Obviously, is what we're going to talk about too. Ozzy Osbourne, second time induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it looks like announced today. I think you were going to bring this up. Tools Maynard James Keenan will be singing the Ozzy Osbourne songs. It looks like, and what are you thinking, Josh? It's got to be Crazy Train, right? You think that's what he's going to be singing?
And Jelly Roll is going to perform.
I didn't see Jelly Roll.
I expect Crazy Train from Maynard and Jelly Roll. Yeah, and I think Jelly Roll does Mom, I'm Coming Home.
Oh, that could be very, very cool. And I heard that Jack Black is supposed to be inducting him.
Yeah.
That's what I heard last week.
Yep. And, so my secret hope, not a secret, my public hope is that Ozzy joins them. They've not said anything. I have a hard time believing he doesn't want to be up there with them. So I'm just hoping he at least joins them. Maybe doesn't take the lead, but joins in singing these songs just one last time, because that's what we all want,
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's wondering what that visual is going to be like, right? Is he going to come down in a chair or in a throne? Or I hope they make it a little bit over the top. Like it used to be back in the 80s, his stuff was like over the top, right? He was on like a big throne and he was
If he comes down from the throne from the Ultimate Sin tour with the big giant green Ozzy throne, right. Shit, I'll lose my mind.
Right, that's what we're looking. That's what we're, as Ozzy fans, that's what we're hoping, right?
That actually isn't the news I was going to discuss.
Okay.
So they announced right before we got on the air here, I'm a big Cincinnati Bengals football fan, and I already had plans to go watch the Bengals and Browns the next day in Cleveland. Works out perfect, right? Well, they announced now that Foreigner is going to do the halftime show, and that Zakk Wylde's playing the national anthem and going to perform after the third quarter.
That's right. I did hear that, but Zakk was going to be there. I didn't hear about Foreigner, but I heard Zakk was going to be there, and I'm like, holy crap. Well, that's why he had to cut he was doing some Jimi Hendrix Experience tour thing, and he had to drop off some shows for that, I saw.
Yep. He does that every year. It's a huge tour. Satriani usually does it, and all kinds of people. I've been to that before. Yeah,
pretty cool. We're looking forward to his Zach Sabbath tour is going to be coming to town here in January. So
the busiest man on earth, bar none.
Right? I know. He's always got something going on. Very, very busy dude, man. I'm looking forward to the new Black Label stuff. That's going to be very, very cool.
He's Pantera's on a 2-week tour break. I'm going to book some shows with Zach Sabbath.
Right. just always. I love that, man. I love when these guys are keeping busy, keeping new projects going on. And I even hear rumors, maybe you'll get to ask the Oz himself. Who knows? If I was hearing rumors, he might do another album.
That's been the word. Actually, I did ask him when we were at the Sirius XM listening party. I said, is there plans for a third record with Andrew Watt? And they both said, yeah. I know the plan was to start early 24. I don't think they got on track. I think Watt's been pretty busy. He's became like the hot shit in town for, everyone.
Right.
But I don't know if they're at it or not. I feel like they are, man. Ozzy can't tour. It obviously appears that touring's finished, but I can say all the time, a painter has to paint. I believe he's bound to be working on some music with them, man. And they have 3 more songs left over from the Patient Number 9 album that had Taylor Hawkins on drums. that everyone's kind of waiting on also. So you've already got a three songs for a new record if you wanted to do that.
Oh, he could just released a couple of the songs then, you know what I mean? He did that crack cocaine song with Billy Morrison. You know, people were digging that. I think he owed him a project. So, I mean, Billy does like the shows with him on Sirius, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you some interesting stuff on that. Here's the kind of stuff we geek out about on Diary of the Madmen, the Ultimate Ozzy podcast. Crack Cocaine was written about a decade ago for the new Ozzy record. That was going to be an Ozzy song. They also wrote one together called Mr. Armageddon. They wrote two. It was Billy Morrison, Ozzy, and Steve Stevens wrote both those songs. Well, all these years later, Ozzy's released two albums he wrote with Andrew Watt. So those songs are on the shelf, and Billy Morrison finally asked, do you mind if I just release this on one of my records? And Sharon was like, it's a great song. You absolutely should. And here we see it. It went to number 1 on the Hot Rock charts, Billboard. So kudos to those guys, man. It's a great track.
Yeah, definitely some great stuff, man. I definitely think we need to see at least one more from the Oz here before he calls it a day.
For sure.
You know, but he just keeps slugging. You just can't seem to slow this guy down. You know, just he's always got something going on. And they were talking about like bringing the Osbourne show back a while back too. They were talking about that, but now they got the podcast going. So
yeah. And one thing that they talked about also on the podcast that I found interesting was the Osbourne's media, and they were wanting to release all of his old archived video footage. And I think that would be really fun for the fans, where we can go back and watch the US Festival, where all these classic shows would be cleaned up, proper format, available on their channel or whatever. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I remember watching that back in the day. I think it was on MTV, the US Festival.
Yeah.
That was a really, really big deal.
That was Jake Lee also.
Yeah, that was Jake, and I think it was Skid Row and Motley Crue maybe out there with him. Van Halen, yeah. It was a really, really cool show. I'd love to see that stuff cleaned up and come back out again. That would just be amazing. So
absolutely.
So what else is going on? So tell us what your plan is here before I let you go and we wrap it up. What's the plan and where are you going to be? I'm sure you got this all. You're a planning type of guy. You haven't figured out like where you're sitting, where you're going to take your picture. Yeah.
Now Ryan is a planning kind of guy. He's already messaged me going, dude, where are we going to park? And I'm like, where are we going to park? We'll figure that out. Like, sorry if I froze up there. I just saw that. But no, Ryan and I are going to get up early Saturday. We are going to go tour the Rock Hall Saturday morning. I have been there before, but I'm anxious to see the new exhibits for the new artists and such, Ozzy. And we're going to do that. And I think we're just going to hang out around town all day until the event, because there's going to be a lot of people around town. So just being there, who knows who we'll run into? We may run into Zakk Wylde, or may run into Slash. It's going to be there performing for Foreigner also. So it'd be fun to be around town. And then that night, of course, is the induction. And we're going to stay the night again. And then, like I said earlier, I'm going to go to the football game on Sunday to watch my Bengals kick the Browns' ass and see Zach do the national anthem. So I'm pretty excited.
So this is like a two for you, man. You got two things going on.
When I saw the Bengals were going to be in town, I thought this cannot be possible. And then today, to find that Foreigner is going to perform and Zach's going to do the anthem, I was like, hell, this is like my perfect weekend.
Right? The stars are just aligned for you with everything.
100%.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's going to be so cool, man. I'm so jealous that you're going to be there. That's going to be so cool. I look forward to your footage and your photos and everything that's going to happen. I think they're going to broadcast it or rebroadcast it. I think was it on Disney Plus or something.
Yeah, I think Disney's going. I think they're going to air it live. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I think I read that they're going to air it live. Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. I look forward to it, and appreciate. Ryan actually was the one that managed to snag the tickets. They went quick. It sold out in like 20 minutes or something, 25 minutes. It went fast. We're up top.
Okay.
We're there. And unfortunately, the Osbournes are not giving me a personal invitation or anything.
Oh, you didn't get an invitation from your buddy Jack? Didn't say, "Hey, I heard you're coming. Come on down and have a drink." No. Oh man,
didn't quite go that far, but yeah.
Oh man, well, that's just awesome, man. That's very, very cool, definitely. So be heading out there, got that going on, got the football game happening, man. Just so very cool. But man, I want to thank you so much for taking some time, chatting all the stuff with Ozzy about us. Have a great time. People hate on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a lot. And I was very much there too, until I spoke to Ron Keel about it. And I said, so many people hate the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and they have bad stuff to say about them, or maybe they don't choose the people that we think deserve it, all this and that. And he said, people may say that, but the people that are in there, they're super proud of that.
100%.
And that
Ozzy Osbourne is one of them. He was so excited about the nomination. So I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? You're totally right. You're totally right. Maybe us as fans, we don't always understand that. We don't understand why you overlook some of the people that we think really deserve it. They don't, we don't think that our voices are ever heard or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the people that get in there, they definitely appreciate it.
And I think, Rob, some of that too comes back to a band like Foreigner, though, when they're not in because of a personal beef and everyone knows they should be. I think that's the pettiness that turns us off sometimes. Remember how long it took Kiss to get in there? Remember that? It was like
the one that really got me was Judas Priest. I was like, you're not going to let these guys in. You're going to have metal. If there was 20 years ago, metalheads would be surrounding the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you would have a problem, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, people think they're already in, but I think Ozzy's the king. I've said for a decade, I was like, people just don't realize Ozzy's not in solo. They assume he's in. And I knew the minute he got on the ballot, he would make it. And of course he did. It was just like Ozzy Osbourne's not already in solo. Like, this is crazy, Right.
Well, next year we need to see Dio. We need to see Dio making it in there. That's what needs to happen next time around.
I could see Ronnie going in the way Randy Rhoads did with that Musical Excellence Award or something like that. I could really see something like that.
Yeah. At this point, I don't care how he gets in. I just think this guy, he really deserves it as well. Just a little crazy with that too.
Yep.
Man. Yep. All right. Well, that wraps up this special Rock and Roll Hall of Fame episode of Talking About Rock. Thank you to my guest today, Josh Crum, for being with us. You can check him out on the Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast. And to all our supporters and listeners, all our texts and comments that we've been receiving from you folks are great. Thank you all so much for your support. Thanks for helping us keep the torch alive. Josh, again, man, thank you.
Thank you, man. Have a good night.